What if one of the most controversial diseases in America didn't start in the woods, but in a government laboratory on a guarded island? Just off the coast of Long Island sits Plum Island, home to the Plum Island Animal Disease Center. Barbed wire, armed patrols, decades of classified research, and just miles away in the quiet coastal town of Lyme, Connecticut, a mysterious illness emerged in the 1970s. Was it a coincidence or something else? Today, we're diving into one of the most persistent wildlife mysteries in modern American history, the discovery of Lyme disease. Now, in the mid-1970s, clusters of children around Lyme, Connecticut began developing strange symptoms: severe arthritis, fatigue, neurological complications, expanding bullseye rashes. In 1982, researchers identified the cause, a spiral-shaped bacterium, and it's transmitted, commonly known as the black-legged or deer tick. But here's where the mystery begins. Why did it appear so suddenly, so intensely in this specific region? Now, Plum Island, just 8 to 10 miles across the water from Lyme, Connecticut, sits Plum Island. The Plum Island Animal Disease Center was established in 1954, but in 1952 it was managed by the U.S. Army's Chemical Corps as part of the Biological Warfare Research Program. The island's isolation made it ideal for high containment experiments. In 1969, President Nixon ended the U.S. Offensive Biological Weapons Program. The facility was then transferred over to the USDA. Officially, the statement says they never conducted any research on Lyme disease on Plum Island, but speculation grew over the decades. Some claim ticks were used in military experiments. An accidental release occurred. A modified strain escaped into surrounding wildlife. The proximity fuels the theory. Now, what is the biological reality? Now, as a biologist, this is where we slow down. There is substantial evidence that the ticks in the U.S. existed long before Plum Island. Museum tick specimens from decades earlier tested positive for Lyme. Genetic studies show northeastern and midwestern strains share a common ancestor for these ticks. More recent research indicates that it existed in North America for thousands of years before Europeans settled. Now that's important because it suggests Lyme disease couldn't have been created in the 1970s, as it was already there. Undiagnosed, misidentified, misunderstood. So why did cases surge in the late 20th century? The answer might lie in ecology. The ecology shift happens after World War II. You have this suburban expansion increase. Forests were fragmented. Predator populations wiped out. White-tailed deer populations exploded. More deer, more ticks. More forest edge neighborhoods, more human exposure. Now, as a wildlife biologist, this is a classic example of an ecological imbalance. Lyme disease might not be new, but our relationship with the landscape is. Now, would Lyme even make sense as a bioweapon? If government wanted to weaponize the pathogen, it would likely prioritize rapid onset, high mortality, panic-inducing symptoms, things like anthrax, smallpox, plague, Ebola. Lyme disease doesn't behave that way. It's slow, often treatable, and rarely fatal. From a military strategy standpoint, it's an inefficient weapon. And that doesn't eliminate every question, but it adds perspective. Now, how many people are affected by Lyme disease? Today, it's the most common vector-borne disease in the United States. CDC estimates 476,000 Americans are diagnosed and treated annually. That's nearly 500,000 people per year. It's serious, it's debilitating for many, but its origin, lab leak, or ancient pathogen remains a topic that stirs debate. Plum Island remains restricted. Lyme disease continues to spread. The genetics suggest ancient origins. The geography does fuel suspicion, however, and it seems strange. Was it ecology? Was it coincidence? Was it something that we'll never know? Sometimes the most enduring mysteries aren't solved by what we discover, but it's by what we're never allowed to see. And that's what makes Plum Island so compelling.